Ball knowledge. How much you know about football in your team. Ball knowledge is very important if you want to go into an argument about football at your lunch table at school. Basically, someone has good ball knowledge if they know they're underrated players, you know? Özil, Yaya Toure, Fernando Torres, Thomas Müller, and the list goes on and on. Even though there is a lot of players that come to mind, but there is one player they are definitely missing and he is criminally underrated. Edin Džeko. So let's get into this man's career and give him the respect he deserves.
Džeko! Pick that one out! Edin Džeko breaks the deadlock on 51 minutes.
First of all, here's a little bit of information about the early life of Džeko. Džeko, or also known in Bosnia as Diamantu. That means the diamond in Bosnian, was born in 1986 in ex-Yugoslavia, and already in his early childhood he was going through a lot of stuff, but Edin, even with this type of childhood, became the biggest player in Bosnian football history. He played his whole youth career in FK Željezničar, a very well-known club in Bosnia, and for the senior team he was not a quote-unquote young talent. He had just 4 goals scored in 42 games as he played as a midfielder. He moved into FK Teplice in 2006 where he began training harder, and he moved to the striker position, scoring 16 goals in 43 games for them. A 15th place squad in Bundesliga has noticed the rise of Džeko. Wolfsburg saw potential in the Bosnian striker and bought him for 4 million euros in the year 2007. With Džeko, they also brought along a Brazilian striker with the nickname of Graffiti. So I don't know if Wolfsburg expected this, but after buying these two players, they created one of the best striker duos in Bundesliga history. The first season, the 07-08 season, was not the best for Džeko, but what happened after that season was something that the fans of Wolfsburg will never forget. This is a list of the top scorers of the 2008-2009 season in Bundesliga. Graffiti was the top scorer that season, and right behind him, his striker partner Džeko. This duo have scored a combined 54 goals in 34 games and won the Bundesliga doing so. It was just incredible. The second place team that season was Bayern Munich. Just look at this team. You've got these Bayern legends, and to add to it, you have a young Toni Kroos, their leading scorer that season, Luka Toni, Miroslav Klose, and Lukas Podolski. And on the other hand, you've got the Wolfsburg team. If Misimovic was not from my country and I didn't just learn about Graffiti researching for this video, I will just know Džeko from this Bundesliga winning team. Or maybe I am simply too young to know these players. Can I say that this Wolfsburg team absolutely destroyed Bayern that season and won 5-1 against them? Yep. What this team achieved in less than 3 seasons, it was amazing. And let's be honest, Džeko was the main man here. This list that I showed from the top scorers, yeah, Džeko was definitely better that season. He scored 2 goals less than Graffiti, but he had 3 assists more, which means that season Džeko had the most combined goals and assists, and Graffiti scored 8 penalties from the 28 goals. So yeah, that says it all. If we switch the sides up and said that Džeko took care of the penalties for Wolfsburg and also missed half of them, this would be the chart for the best scorers that season. Just some simple research tells you the complete story. So to make Džeko's journey in Bundesliga as simple as possible, I've made another chart, and it is about the most goals scored and assists made from the top players during Džeko's time in Bundesliga. Just only one player was close to Džeko in his time in the Bundesliga, and that was Mario Gomez, with him having just 1 goal less than Džeko at that time. So basically what this graph and this story is telling us is that a solid striker from the Czech First League came to Bundesliga and did this. In my opinion, this is just an insane stat, and I mean, it is like if a promising striker in the Czech league nowadays like Ladislav Almasi went to 15th place Stuttgart and helped them win the Bundesliga versus this Bayern team. It would pretty much be the same story. In the winter of 2011, Manchester City were interested in Džeko after his top goalscorer season. So they bought the Bosnian for 30 million euros, and the streets will never forget Edin Džeko in a Manchester City uniform. Džeko was a decent player for City.
It is decent! Tell him, lad, it's decent! It's decent!
In every full season he played, he was in the top goal scorers, and in the PL, in that time were players like Rooney, Van Persie, Gareth Bale, Suarez, though yeah, not even bad for the goal-getter. Except the last season, which was also the only stain on his adventure with City, where he was simply not playing like he usually does. The fans of City will remember Džeko for a lot of things, like these 4 goals versus Tottenham.
It's a great ball into Džeko! Options everywhere. Into Džeko again. Oh, nice reverse ball. Yaya Toure, great chance.
Is there going to be one last moment of brilliance from Edin Džeko? There is. It's spectacular, and it's four goals for Edin Džeko.
In the historic 6-1 win at Old Trafford, Džeko came off the bench in the 70th minute when the result was 3-1 for City, and so in 20 minutes he scored 2 goals and assisted 1 goal, making this victory being recognized even nowadays.
Unbelievable! Manchester United 1, Manchester City 6. It's 2 for Džeko. Have you ever seen anything like this before?
You probably also know this moment. Probably the greatest moment in PL history happened because some player scored a goal that made everyone believe that the comeback is still possible, and that player was Džeko.
Centre circle this time. In goes Džeko!
Scoring a header 2 minutes before Aguero in the 92nd minute, and later on the whole stadium went nuts. If you ask me, that ain't a bad way to win your first Premier League title. It's still undeniable what Džeko did for City and helped them win 2 Premier Leagues, 1 EFL trophy, 1 Community Shield and a FA Cup, which means Džeko has won every single English trophy in a span of 4 to 5 seasons. If you remember, I said that this man's only stain on his adventure in City was that last season, and eventually that was the reason City didn't want to extend Džeko's contract. Because of that, a Serie A team ended up buying Džeko for 20 million euros, and I think that the fans did not expect that Džeko would end up as a legend of the club at the end of his journey in Roma. Džeko was so good at Roma that he eventually ended up being Roma's second best scorer in the 21st century. In front of him was only this guy, Francesco Totti. In the 2016-2017 season, Džeko almost won the Scudetto with Roma, just falling short about 4 points to this Juventus team. This season, in the top goal scorer leaderboards, Džeko was first leading the league with goals and also with assists. One of the amazing facts of Džeko and his time in Roma is that he almost went with this Roma squad to the Champions League final. That season was Roma landed in a group with the last season's finalists Atletico Madrid and Chelsea, and they topped that group with Džeko scoring an absolute stunner at the Stamford Bridge.
Alla verticale a cercare Džeko. Džeko! Džeko!
In the quarterfinals, they met FC Barcelona, and I think everybody already knows where this is going. They lost in the Camp Nou 4-1, with Džeko scoring the away goal and giving Roma the hope they needed. 1 week later, they met again in the Stadio Olimpico, and when you look at the whole picture, Džeko already scored in the 6th minute, created a penalty for Roma 50 minutes later. But this game is just remembered with the game-winning goal of Manolas. They almost pulled another comeback in the semi-final versus Liverpool, just falling short of 1 goal. It was really unlucky that Džeko came short to both the Scudetto and a Champions League final with Roma. In 2021, Džeko went to Inter, where he finally won his first Italian trophies. To sum it up, his story in Inter is pretty simple for now. He has pretty much been a rotation player for them and won 2 Italian Super Cups, where he was the man of the match in one of the Super Cup finals, and he also won a Coppa Italia with them. But something also makes me think the longevity of this dude is incredible. Before 15 years, he was tearing Bundesliga defenders up like it's nothing, and now he is winning Italian Cups and Super Coppas with Inter. And in the national side of his career, he was untouchable. Džeko is obviously the top scorer in Bosnian national team history, and he took Bosnia to the World Cup in 2014, and that ended up being the only major competition appearance from the Bosnian and Herzegovinian national team. In that World Cup, Bosnia played 2-1 versus the finalists that year, Argentina. They should have gone to the round of 16 of the 2014 World Cup, but they didn't because one of the worst referee mistakes that World Cup happened against Bosnia and Herzegovina. Just look at this picture. It's bad and like really bad. This happened at the game versus Nigeria. Bosnia should have went 1-0 up after this goal, but instead of that, Nigeria went on to score a goal later on and won the game. So because of that, Bosnia ended up leaving Brazil already in the group stages. Džeko is for now the 5th best international goal scorer by European country, and in front of him are some big names.
Lewandowski.
So, just to give some icing on the top at the end of this video, I have just one more fact. Džeko was the first player to score 50 goals in 3 different leagues of the top 5 European leagues, and he did this in 2018. Only one player has joined Džeko in that stat since then, and it was this guy.
Cristiano!